Welcome back to the Watercolor Journey Painting Challenge. Hi, I'm Chris, your host for this challenge, and this week we're going to continue last week's lesson on color. I'll share some color mixing tips with you and talk to you about color palettes and some easy ways to create them for your projects. This is not something you have to do, but I'm going to be working with a single color palette throughout this challenge. I might mix in some other colors here and there, but primarily I'll be working with this color palette because number one, it's my favorite, and number two, it really tells my story. But I've also learned that over the years, when I make multiple pieces of art in the same color palette, I can create collections that I can use for all kinds of things like my website, my POD shop, my courses, and lots more. I teach this concept in my Skillshare class, Watercolor Collections, Scroll Stopping Color Themed Art, which is a snippet of this entire concept. But I also have a bigger course, which teaches my 9-part process called the Confident Collection Creator, where I go deep on this topic. The reason is that it has gotten me 2 brand deals already, and it's leading to more things as we speak. So I am so excited to give you snippets of this process so you can learn it and use it in your own art practice. I'm an artist and a teacher, but I'm also a surface pattern designer, and I plan to use some of my art from the challenge to inspire future designs. From the art you're creating, you can make greeting cards, open a POD shop with your art and products, or you can just fill your sketchbook. If you have a purpose for the art you're going to be creating in this challenge, I would love to hear about it in the comments so I can cheer you on. Other artists often approach things differently than I would have thought to, and it's wonderful to get a new perspective and learn from you. Once you've learned all the basics, then you can feel free to explore and still know you're going to come up with a great set of colors. But there's a lot more colors out there in the world than what you see on the color wheel. That's because we can create versions of these colors with color mixing. And that's where it gets really fun. For example, I'll be using this blue that I've mixed with a little bit of white and dark gray to tone it down. I love muted colors, probably because I see them often living in the desert. And this is a color I use everywhere on my website, in my marketing, and in my paintings. Today, I want to show you how I've mixed a version of the Pantone color of the year called Peach Fuzz. Before we actually get started painting anything, I want to show you a couple of other tools that I use, just basic stuff that kind of keep in my back pocket because it can be a little intimidating to put paint on paper. Even I get that feeling that I'm going to mess up or it's just going to not be what I expected. So I have this little sketch pad. It's 3.5 inches by 5 inches. It's regular sketch paper, so not fit for watercolor at all. And I purposefully got a sketch pad instead of a watercolor sketch pad this size because I wanted to feel like I could just mess it up and it wouldn't matter. So I have done so much strategizing on colors and paint strokes, and I strategized an entire collection on this spread here. It was so much fun, and I could just make little notes and just cross things off, and I wouldn't feel that intimidation that I'm going to mess anything up at all. So I keep this right on the side so that I can grab it anytime I feel a little unclear or unsure about what I'm going to be doing. And so today, since I'm just kind of discovering colors, I'm keeping it over here, just handy in case I need to just drop some paint on it before hitting my actual paper. Now, this is some paper that I haven't shown you before. This is a Strathmore 5.5 by 8.5 inch little pad of paper. And I call these my practice papers. And it's 140-pound watercolor paper. You can see it's nice and thick. It's like good cardstock. It's got the nice cold press texture on it, which I love. And I can do all kinds of really fun things with this. I can cut it up. I can put it, sideways or do a more deeper practice version than on here because this is actual watercolor paper before hitting my Canson paper or my Arches paper or whatever paper I'm using for my final projects. So today, because I'm trying to strategize color, I cut one of these sheets up into some little rectangles like this. I drew squares in them. So you can see I have 5 little sheets with rectangles in them. I can paint my colors inside these and turn them into color swatches. I can have my colors handy when I need them and just maybe have them out at a glance So I've got my color sheets ready to go here. I have my original set, my fall set, my spring set, and my metallic set, which I love. I don't use it all the time, but oh my gosh, these colors are gorgeous. And I just really enjoy having it handy when I want to put an accent on something. This set has 10 colors as opposed to the 16 colors that are in each of these, but they give you 2 silver and 2 gold because let's face it, that's probably our go-to on metallics most of the time, even though we have these other luscious colors to choose from as well. So I'm keeping these right here on the side. Now, this is also a Viviva set, but it's a pan set. You might have seen these in some of my brand images, and it has the fly out paper palette, which works so well. Now, the difference between the pan set and the color sheets, besides the size, is that the pan set is color fast. So these paints, you can paint something and frame it and don't worry about the colors fading. Whereas these are not color fast. I haven't experienced my colors fading too much on this. I mean, I think it takes a long time. You have to really watch it. I think you have to really notice. But if you want the assurance that your colors are light fast, the pan sets are what I would recommend. These both last quite a while. And then this one is the original set. It comes with a white, which I love, and I'll show you a little bit more about that as well. And they come with these color cards, so you can look at your colors at a glance to see what color you might want to use for different parts of your project. So this is a very nice set. It's made with cork, so it's also biodegradable and really lightweight. So this set is almost as lightweight as this little booklet. It's crazy. I haven't even used this one, but this is a brand new pan set that's the spring set. And the spring set has just more pastels and lighter, brighter colors. So you can see what they look like when they're new. I haven't even painted the little swatch card yet, but look how gorgeous they are. Oh my gosh, I geek out on this so much. But yeah, I can't wait to get my hands into this one and paint the swatch card. But I won't be using that today because I want to use more basic colors. These color sheets are my go-to because I can start a project in my studio, then I can take it with me somewhere to finish or vice versa. And they're so easily portable. Not that these aren't, but I just love my color sheets so very much that I tend to just have a hard time parting with them. So I have an older set of original paints that I'm still finishing some colors on. This was the first set I ever got from Viviva, and it's kind of like an old friend, and I just love it so much. I keep replacing these the squares of color when they run out, and I know it's beat up and overpainted and a mess, but I do love it. So I'm going to start with this set right now. Let's see here. I am going to start with the peach color. I have a brand color palette that I'm going to be painting out on these cards that I'm going to be using for my projects during this challenge. So I'm going to start with some burnt sienna. Now, this is really almost gone. Like, this is my go-to color. I love it so much. I love the color of terracotta, and that's what this reminds me of. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you have a color that just makes you feel like it's home. I almost always incorporate it in my projects. Like I said, it's my main color for my brand, for my website, for my marketing, for my logo. And I've used it to death. So it's just about gone. But I have just enough to paint some light peach. And I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to have to be replacing that. But Viviva has these replacement sets, green, red and pink and orange, browns and yellows. And all you do is just take the square. When I'm ready, I can just take this off. There's just a little bit of glue on the back. I pop it off. I peel off the back of this and I stick it right to the front of this. And I've got a brand new color there. These are only $3, $4. They're so easy to apply. And like I said, all my colors are right here. My pinks, red and orange, my blues and greens. I've already replaced this green that I love so much, the sap green. But anyway, just an FYI, when these run out, you can just replace them. And yeah, let's Go into the next color, which is going to be yellow ochre. So there's actually a yellow ochre here, but it's a bit light for me for what I want. Yellow ochre is essentially yellow mixed with brown. And depending on how deep and dark and rich you want it, is how much brown you add to it. So you kind of want to play and experiment. This is definitely a lovely, lovely yellow ochre. It's not pure yellow. You can see it's not super bright. It's just got that nicely muted feature to it. However, I do like a little bit more brown, and I have some on my palette here. And this burnt umber, which is a much darker brown, has a lot of red in it. And it's a little more red than I want, but I think it's going to be enough to do the job here. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow ochre just to yellow it up more. And I think that might just do the trick. You can see me mixing my colors right on the paper. I do this a lot. I think that I just like the space of all this white to be mixing my colors on. Now, obviously, my palette is just covered in colors that I keep reusing. So if I had it available here, I think I would still use my paper. I've just gotten in the habit of that, and that's okay. You can even use like a practice piece of paper to do some mixing on to see what your colors are going to look like on the actual paper. So next is my rusty terracotta. I'm going to have to really get this dark. So I either have to put my new color sheet on or I have to start mixing with some other colors to get it there. We'll see how much color I can get off of here. It may or may not be enough. We'll see. And it's kind of breaking down, so I may have to do something a little different. I'm going to add a little more water. I'm going to add some burnt umber to this. There we go. Now we've got a little more color. Actually, a lot better. And I'm probably going to add some orange to this because I want just a little more terracotta looking. Just a little bit more. So for me, color mixing is not an exact science. I know that many, many teachers will show you the exact colors to use to get this exact mix of colors. However, I really love to ad-lib these colors. To me, this is the most beautiful chemistry project. And by the way, I was terrible at chemistry. So this is the chemistry that I love, the visual chemistry. And I think that you can do just as well at this as anyone when you just start playing and experimenting and understanding how these colors interact with each other. That's really all it is. As you practice, you just learn more and more about it, like anything else. Now that's nicely kind of red and rich. I like that a lot. So this color is essentially red and brown, but this brown wasn't a true brown. So orange brown. I added a mix of yellow ochre, brown, orange, and my burnt sienna. Again, you'll have to play around and experiment. You'll have colors that might be completely different than what I have. And so you can just play with the colors you have and see how close you can get to the colors you want to do. Now, one of my colors in my palette is a gray, like a medium gray. So I'm going to take a little bit of my slate black, which I have on my palette already, and move it on my square here. And you can see I'm not being too precious or perfect with this. This is just a swatch card, and it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. I'll make it as neat as I can. So please don't put yourself under pressure for these kinds of things. Just enjoy yourself, have fun, relax. And it doesn't matter if you make squares or circles. Sometimes I do circles, sometimes I do squares, sometimes I do blobs. It just depends. Just add a little bit more gray. Now, the more water you add to your mixture, the lighter it's going to dry. So I have to really watch my mix of water and paint. I can't say pigment because this is actually dye. Viviva uses natural dyes from the earth for all of these colors, and traditional watercolors are made with pigments. So this is technically an ink, but they call them watercolors because you put water on them and you can paint with them. And my last one is my blue. So this is my second favorite color because it's just gorgeous. And it's a color I love to mix every single time. It's just my favorite thing to mix. And I'm going to have to use this palette because it has white and I need a little bit of white for this. So let's do it. Now I need my color card. I'm going to use some of this deep blue. So I start with the darkest blue. Now, shadow blue is probably the truest blue, according to the color wheel. But I'm going to be making this sort of a gray blue, and I want to start with a little bit darker color. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to use my palette for this because I don't already have it anywhere where I can just grab it. This paint goes a long, long way. These colors are so concentrated. That's why they last so long. A color sheet set can last me 2.5, 3 years. One of these can last me longer. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just going to add a little bit of white. Now, white is not traditionally used in watercolors, right? If you've been painting with watercolors for a while, you don't see watercolor teachers really using white. But I love white, and I'll tell you why. It gives me a uniqueness that you might not see anywhere else, and that's the whole point. White makes your colors creamy. If you want to make a pastel, that's how you make it. Now, you might argue that it won't be watercolors, it's more gouache looking, and that might be true, but they're still going to be translucent, and it gives you such a beautiful look. I just think it's fun. And like I said, I'm not technically correct on some of these. I'm just playing. And that's why anyone can really pick this up. You should give yourself permission to do that. If you're not doing that, you're kind of missing out. You don't have to show anybody anything. You don't have to tell them you're doing it. Just enjoy yourself and see what comes out of it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just laying down this color. So now you can see it's not a true blue. You can kind of see the white a little bit. It made it a little pastel-y looking. Uh-oh, got a little bit of green or yellow on here. So I'm just going to lift that spot. So I see there's a spot right there that got on my brush. I'll mix more if I have to, but that's a good start. I do want this blue light, but I think it's almost too light. So I'm going to mix just a little bit more. Like I said, I'm going easy with this because it's concentrated. And I might just even just put this blue on top just to give it a little bit more color. It's not exact, but it's so close. And again, I think striving for that perfection for me really holds me back on a lot of my projects, and letting myself go and give myself permission to not have the perfect color, but very close, or not have the perfect shape, but very close, I think has really opened things up for me. And I hope that you'll consider that in your own art practice. Okay, so there we have it. These are my 5 colors that I'll be using. This color here is a little darker than normal, but it's a little closer to the new Pantone color, which is Peach Fuzz. Another way to get to this color, I think this is dry. I can do something on the back with you here really quick, just to take you through this exercise. I normally get light peach by just taking a little orange, and I'm just going to pretend I have a square already, and just not getting it too dark. Just make sure that I have plenty of water and not a whole lot of paint. So orange becomes peach just by regulating how much pigment and water I'm using. That's a little too light, but I can get it a little darker. See that? It's quite nice. So you can create different colors with your watercolor paints just by, again, the chemistry between the water and how much paint you have. And you can experiment with this and just see what kind of colors you can come up with. Now, if you look at this color and this color, this one's quite a bit more concentrated than this color. This is truer to what I use on my website. But if you look at the Pantone website, this is a little truer to the new color of the year called Peach Fuzz. I encourage you to go on the Pantone website and check it out and learn more about how they picked this color for the year and the other colors of the year as well. There's all the colors that I will be using during this challenge. I'll be kind of coming in and out with some other ones, which is why I cut some extra squares to see if I want to incorporate an extra color here or there. But these are going to be my go-to colors. I cannot wait to see what you have chosen for your go-to colors. And I hope you've had fun with this. If you're watching this lesson, but you haven't joined us in the challenge yet, you'll find a link in the description to get signed up for all the goodies. And you can click the image on the screen now to watch these lessons from the beginning. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, I would so appreciate it if you would hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos as they come out. And I will see you in the next lesson. See you soon.